It only works in DoD, and the goal is to sort of circumvent the crazy DoD really long process. So what OTAs do, before we take a break, also, just remind me to talk about challenge. These OTAs can take different forms, but primarily what happens is you build a prototype of something. And you apply for money up to $250 million, and you have to be a non-traditional defense contractor, and you apply to get an OTA for X amount of dollars to build a prototype, and then that prototype can be used to figure out if the government can test it and figure out if they actually need it or can work with it or whatever, and then it can be used to drive a bigger production line. So what the government's trying to do here is, again, give small businesses the opportunity to play in the big, bad defense contract world. It encourages innovative thinking and developing and using technology, so it encourages small businesses to kind of think outside the box as to what kinds of things might be useful to the government. So for example, one person said, if I'm out in the field and I need a certain technology, why can't I just download it from the App Store? You know, so thinking outside the box, whereas normally you have this huge requirements and all this other kinds of definition, why can't defense contractors, why can't small businesses put together small apps that they think might be useful to people in the field and just let them download those things? And then the government pays. Not if it was on a secure government system. So a lot of times, things like, I don't know if you knew this, but things like Facebook, Twitter, DoD uses those products. And all they do is they use the DoD version of them. So the DoD version, like, you know how you have Find Friends? This is how I find my daughter. Like, you can't use that technology, because what they were finding is that people in the field, Facebooking home and being able to use those geolocating services, the enemy was tracking them, finding out exactly where they were. So you're not allowed, so the DoD version doesn't allow that. So they take products that you and I use on a day-to-day basis, and they just sanitize them for you to use. The other thing it does is prototypes reduce the odds that the government will spend a lot of money. So we've all heard about the crazy, you know, there's movies written about this stuff, about these times where the government, there's one with Kelsey Grammer about a submarine, but situations where the government will spend a lot of money and the end product didn't work as intended or didn't meet the government's requirement. So OTAs are a method to get around that. The other thing I wanted to mention is this challenge.gov. Has anybody heard of challenge.gov? I think this is really cool. I think this is going to be my retirement activity.
Good.
So you go to this website called challenge.gov. It's run by the government. And any federal agency can put out a need. And so I'm going to take, the challenges can take a lot of different forms, but I'm just going to describe one as an example. So the government said, here's our problem. We have contracting officers that know contracting inside and out. And we have technical people that know technology inside and out. So they understand cloud computing, cybersecurity, they understand you know, all these technical terms. But the people who buy that technology, the contracting officers, don't understand the technology, and the technology people don't understand how to contract for it. So what we want is a solution to this problem. And the challenge is, we want to take contracting officers and give them enough skills that they can buy the technology. So it was open up to anybody to put together a white paper on this. And anybody who wanted to could put together a position paper that described what their solution was. And then they picked the three white papers they liked the best, and they gave each one of them, let's say, $25,000 to build a prototype. So basically, what would a course look like if you were going to actually teach contracting officers the technology stuff? And then of those, they picked the one they liked. They actually sent contracting officers to those classes and looked at the outlines and kind of the materials they were going to go through. They selected their winner, and they gave them $250,000 to put the courses together. So the thing, did you notice, and how many times did I use the word FAR in that description of challenge.gov? So it's completely outside of the FAR. You know, the dollars can be pretty lucrative under it, but it's basically the government's tapping the industrial base and individual citizens and academic institutions and nonprofits to help them figure out certain problems. And, you know, knowing that the more you crowdsource, which is exactly what this is, you're going to get better ideas. So they're trying to come up with creative ways like OTAs and challenge.gov to be able to go after this kind of stuff. There you have it. So just I have to tell you a funny story because this is where reality meets theory. So I was with UVA at the time, and we had a wonderful contracts program, you know, acquisition contracting officers program that I ran, and we had another program that was the IT program that somebody else ran. So one would think we were in a prime position to go after this. So I talked to my dean, and he said, yes, absolutely. So I put together this very elaborate proposal that talked about all the things that we were going to do for them, and submitted it, or I was getting ready to submit it the day before, and my dean called me up and said, oh, I just noticed the data rights clause on this contract. And the data rights clause was literally the most generous the government could possibly be. Now keep in mind what's happening here. They're paying you to develop the outlines, and then they're paying you to develop all the course content. So what would you think the government's ownership rights were? Huh? Yeah, you would think the government would say, we own it all, because we're paying for it, right? Which is how it works, you know, 9 times out of 10. On this challenge.gov, you know what they said? We, the government, own it, but you, the contractor, own it. And we can do with it whatever we want, and you can do with it whatever you want. How much more flexible could the government be? To everyone in the world except my dean. Because my dean said, adopting the true UVA snobbery, we're UVA. We don't share our intellectual property with anyone. Get the government to change their strategy. And, you know, being a government contractor, like, I knew how benevolent they were being, but yet he refused to let UVA go after this. So since I created all the intellectual capital, I went after it, and I got pulled aside by 3 different contracting, the 3 people on the source selection committee that said they were going to award the contract to me. The only thing they were concerned about was just me, and they had to train the entire government, so they needed like a lot of forces to do it, but they wanted me to know how. So UVA would have had their entire development costs paid for, and they would have been able to go out and sell it to people who wanted to get that contracting technical background, to anybody in the world, and said they did. So stupid's on the government side, stupid is in the commercial side, and stupid is in the academic side. And on that, we will take a break.